Fellas, AC here. Welcome to another collaboration video with Mr. Smelly.
Mr. Smelly, that's me. Hello, guys. Great to be here. Hello.
Dan, welcome to the channel. It's been beautiful talking to you, and
Yes.
we've done a few now, and it's been appreciated and loved by everybody. And I tell you what, it's been an experience. I love every single one of them.
Likewise,
so thank you for coming.
Yeah, I really enjoy doing these videos with you, and looking forward to doing another one. Excuse it's a bad taste shirt today, but we got some hot weather, so it matches my cushions. Actually, it looks like I had to move that cushion because it looked like I was wearing the shirt in the same material.
It looks fabulous. It suits you. And let's take opinion poll. Fellas, tell us what Dan looks like in a shirt.
Yeah. Guilty
like
pleasure now and again. So, what are we talking about today, AC?
We are talking about Creed's brand new release, Viking Cologne. Yes. And everybody's buzzing about this one, so I thought maybe we'll get you to speak on this one because this is your favorite, right? Creed is your favorite house. Or one of your favorite houses.
It's certainly up there. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the favorite, but yeah, I'm definitely a fan generally. Yep.
Yes. Okay. So Viking Cologne was released this year, and basically a flanker to the original release back in 2019, wasn't it, or 2018? I can't remember exactly.
Yeah. May even have been 17, but yeah, maybe 18. I'm not sure. Around then.
I can't remember either. But I've reviewed. I think I've done a doer comparison of Viking, and I quite liked Viking. So I thought maybe we should do a collab on Creed Viking Cologne. So, following the format we followed for H24, let's start with a spray and let's get your views on what you think, because you're the Creed man.
All right.
So should we go for spray?
Yeah, I've got some on. I'll put a new fresh one on here.
Okay.
And I'll put I'll keep the dry down on the card a little bit, so I've got both.
Fair enough.
Oh, I love the opening. Yeah, really nice opening.
I love the opening too.
Yeah.
What do you smell?
Well, sorry to say, because it's a common thing, bergamot. But you can't get. I mean, it's obviously a top note that everyone uses for a good reason. So I'm getting nice bergamots, and that is not a bad thing at all. And a citrus overall type of feel, which is very much no surprise when it's a Viking Cologne. You expect it to be more citrusy than the original Viking, and I get pleasant citruses, a little bit of spice, and an undertone of something a tiny bit sweet.
Do you not get any lavender?
Before very long, I do get the lavender, which was quite a big factor in the original Viking. Yes. Indeed. So, shall I tell you what I'm getting? The opening. So I don't get much bergamot. I get sweet mandarin and lavender with a lot of lemon, as if lemon cleaner. You know, the things like Pride and whatever kitchen cleaners you get. I get that lemon cleaner smell, lemon cleaning solution smell. Yeah.
I don't want to be disrespectful to the fragrance, but that's what I'm getting, a little bit of it. Not a huge amount, but I get a lot of lemon-based cleaning agent, lavender, and maybe a slight bit of bergamot, but a lot of greenness. That's all I'm getting. Very green lavender, sharp lavender with lemon and sweet mandarin.
Okay.
At the bottom of the pyramid, if you like. So we're getting different things. You're getting a lot of bergamot, right?
I think so, but I mean, you could certainly say there's a general citrus melange there, which is very sort of familiar to fragrance fans in a lot of things.
Yes.
I mean, most people can get that right in a fragrance, but it won't stay that nice for many minutes because the citruses naturally don't tend to hang around too well. And yeah, I mean, I must say sometimes I'm trying to avoid buying lemon cleaning products now because I like a lot of my citrus fragrances in my collection. But if I spray that all over my bathroom and my toilet as well, I have to admit, there is, lemon is recognizable even in a cleaning product or an expensive fragrance, and sometimes it's not that different. So yeah, I take your point there, and you will definitely find, if you look at a Creed ingredient thing, the linonol or citronellol, which are some of these synthetic, or these very basic citrusy type oils, and you'll probably find that on your bottle of Flash spray as well, unfortunately. So hopefully there's lots of other things, but yeah, I take your point about these citrusy openings.
And yeah, I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to Creed, but that's the smell I get the most here, along with lavender combined with a little sweet mandarin note, and that's the opening for me. But okay, let's go to the heart notes. What do you think? What do you smell that?
Well, then I felt like the spiciness that I associate a little bit with the original Viking came through a fair bit. So I got a sort of, I remember some people said that Creed Viking reminded them a little bit of Old Spice, the famous, very cheap aftershave. And I still get a little bit of that sort of, let's say, barbershop type pleasant spiciness, which is okay, but not. I didn't love Viking, and so therefore, when that Viking original DNA came through, it didn't massively please me. So I think you are going to be very good at picking out specific notes. I'm going to just give you as the actual heart notes, which are geranium, lavender, nutmeg, rosemary, and sage. So you got some quite pleasant, spicy and herbal accords, and I definitely got that feel. It was a pleasant middle, but didn't wow me. So that's what I felt about the mid.
Yeah, I think that green, rosy smell is geranium, and the note I'm getting most is geranium. Now, 5 minutes into the spray, it's dominated by geranium for me.
Right. Yep.
And obviously then there's lavender and there's little lemon pledge or lemon cleaning solution like smell with a little hint of mint. So the thing I'm missing here is pink pepper and mint. The two things that made Viking for me was creamy mint and pink pepper. I'm missing both those two notes here.
Right.
It doesn't smell like I'm smelling a flank or two Viking. It smells like a really distant relative of Viking. No mint, no pink pepper. It's bizarre. For me, it's bizarre as a flanker. But anyways, let's go to the dry down.
Okay. I did feel that I got the more of a Viking feel to it than you, but that's fine. And apparently pink pepper is listed as a note, but you're not picking up. And mint, you're quite right, is not listed. So what do you think about the final stages and the base notes?
See, the final stage is where the fragrance becomes even more insignificant on me. It smells, I'm very sorry to say this, it smells like many previous Creed fragrances in their late dry down. One I'm reminded of is Himalaya. Himalaya has a very soft fennel-like sandalwood. So, Himalaya, let's say after 6 hours is what this smells like. Bit of Himalaya and maybe a slight hint of Viking late dry down because it has a very nice soft fennel-like sandalwood vetiver combination, the original Viking. So it's like Himalaya with dry down of Himalaya mixed with dry down of Viking. That too very late, so very faint but residual scent. And I get that in 2 hours. The fragrance just rushes through everything and goes into that sort of nondescript persona non grata kind of a dry down. I didn't get any joy out of the dry down of Viking. It's like, Viking Cologne. It's like wearing a designer which fades out in 2 hours. That's how I feel after the dry down. This is where I got super disappointed. But up to you, over to you, because you're a bigger aficionado of Creed. I always criticize Creed, so no point listening to me.
No, there is every point in listening to you, but I sort of lean towards agreeing with you quite a bit. I did, like you, I picked up on what I would sort of consider a bit of a familiar Creed DNA in the dry down, I think. But I mean, it's very easy for me to have that in my mind and expect it already because it's a Creed fragrance, and perhaps I therefore, the power of suggestion is strong. But yeah, I think it's got that familiar sort of Creed dry down. Even sometimes I attribute that to their famed use of ambergris, which doesn't seem to be listed, but there's something of that thing that I think people will recognize. And for me, it just lifts it above being very on the level of average designer fresh fragrance releases. I think if you're really a Creed fan, then it does give you a little bit of the Creed feel, the Creed DNA, if you like. So yeah, I think if it was a new designer release, I'd be talking a bit more positively about it. You know, if it was an affordable fragrance, then I might be a little bit more excited about it. But yeah, it's a pleasant but unremarkable sort of overall feel when you compare it to so many other Creed fragrances that I am quite excited about and a big fan of. So yeah, very pleasant, nice overall experience, but it didn't really stand out as anything I'd want to rush out and buy. And there is something about that Viking smell that I never did it for me massively, because it just sort of smelled like a slightly upscale cousin to Old Spice, which is okay. But so yeah, it was good, but I wouldn't go much further than to say that.
I agree. In fact, you are a little bit more appreciative of this fragrance, slightly more than me.
Yes.
Because for me, that lemon pledge smell in the opening sort of reduced my enthusiasm, and then the dry down when it sort of was a watermark of Creed Himalaya is when I thought to myself, why did they bother even releasing this? But let's do it properly. Let's do the pros and cons of the fragrance. So what do you think of the other positives of this fragrance to you?
I think the one good positive is it's certainly a very versatile kind of fragrance. You could have it as a signature scent and wear it in any occasion. You know, it's not an out and out really, really citrusy fragrance, but it's fresh enough that it goes down well on a warm summer's day that we've got today. So it's very versatile. You can wear it in hot weather, but it's got a little bit more going on than an out and out neroli based cologne or whatever. So it would be still great in, you know, any time of year for your work scent, that kind of thing. So very versatile, unlikely to be strongly disliked by anyone smelling it on you. It's polarizing and not polarizing. And I feel that it smells quite good in the quality of the ingredients. So I think there's a lot of good things to say about it. But let's see what do you think are the pros?
My zero, no pros for me. It's a pointless release. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm going to be very severe on this. Reason being, it costs 200. You told me the price, 190.
Yes. If you wanted to get the 100ml bottle, I think it was 275.
275
or two. Hang on. Okay. Let me get that right. Sorry. No. It's £240 for 100ml. Or if you want the smaller 50ml, that's £175.
Okay. So £240. You know, whatever, £2.40 for 1 ml. You can get many, many, many more fragrances which can do just this for probably a tenth of the price. So I don't want to be too critical, but for me, there is no positives. I looked at the scent, I've tried it, I've worn it about 4 or 5 times because I've had this decant for about 3 or 4 weeks now. And every time I've worn this fragrance, there's only one question that has crossed my mind, and that is, why did they bother?
Right.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
this is Creed, man. This is one of the most well-loved houses out there, and whenever they do a release, it's like a celebration. So
yeah, it's a bit of an event. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, we'll come to that later in the later half of the video. But yeah, you asked me about my feel about positives. I didn't feel anything positive about this release. I'm so sorry.
Wow. Okay. Just something sprang to mind that somebody said they felt they got a little reminiscence of Terre d'Hermès in this one, and I thought it was. Yeah, there are some similarities in that it does again share. There's a bit of a note in here which is quite nice, but I wouldn't say it's better than Terre d'Hermès, that's for sure. So I'm sure you think it's a lot worse, but yeah, just thought I'd mention that comparison.
I agree. I think there's a lot of ISO super here. I got that as well when I was
Yeah,
sitting
yeah,
outside in the
yeah.
garden. But TDMS costs £75 for 100 ml. This one is 245. So, but anyways, we'll come to that. So let's do the downsides. What do you think are the downsides? Because if you give it to me, I'm going to take over the show. So
yeah, even your pros, when we asked you for the positives, it was negative. So dread to think what you're going to say. Well, the downsides are that it is unremarkable. It doesn't feel like it's bringing anything very new to the table. It doesn't have much of a wow factor. And of course, when you're paying that kind of money, you might want that, really. You might want to, wow, what's that you're wearing? It's so good. Maybe you could get that from somebody, but certainly not from another perfume aficionado. I doubt would think, wow, that's a special one. So it's the downside, I think, is the price is very high. It's a bit naff. We'll come to this, but maybe for a niche house, the concept of a flanker, a cologne, doesn't feel that great either. So I'll put that as a downside, really, because it feels like they're playing the designer game there. And so that's another downside. I'm not going to comment on performance very much because I've only used a very small sample that I got from Fragrance Samples UK, but I'd like to have worn it more before I comment. But yeah, I guess the lack of excitement in this one is
that's the biggest one, isn't it?
Definite downside. Yeah.
I mean, if you ask me, I don't want to hijack the whole session, but I'll tell you one thing. There are many fragrances which can do things that this is trying to do much better, cologne style. So there's one that we both like, and that is Eau de Rochas by Rochas. Remember that one?
Yeah.
It costs £20 for 100 ml.
Yeah.
If you want something like this, which is a cologne style, effervescent, very real bergamot in Eau de Rochas, buy it and enjoy it. 20 quid. So that's one. What else? Okay, Eau Sauvage Cologne. Yeah, that's another one which does what this is trying to do for 50 quid on eBay. So I don't want to say this is rubbish 100 times, but what this is trying to do is possible for 20 quid. Eau de Rochas.
Yeah.
And we both like it. So yeah, sorry, couldn't be more more critical. If I get more critical, then I think people will shut down. So this is where I like to stop in terms of cons. So let's do the other bits. So occasions.
By just picking up on your point very briefly about Eau de Rochas. Sure. I was just thinking about it. I'm not sure you could actually say there's anything noticeably better quality about this Creed fragrance than the Eau de Rochas. So yeah, I totally take your point. Moving on, occasions for this then. Anytime, any place. I don't think it's very occasion. It doesn't have to be. It's not a special occasion thing. It's not really sort of in your face or anything like that. So you can wear it anywhere, anytime, to work, casual or dressed up. It doesn't feel too sort of. There's some clubbing sense or silly sense that might feel a bit weird if you wore them to a wedding, but you could certainly wear this in a more sort of formal occasion to anywhere, any place, I say.
Yeah, I'd say this, as you said, it's pretty unremarkable, right? So you would want to wear this fragrance where you want to be incognito. Let's say you are a spy, when you don't want to be, when you don't want to be noticed. Let's say you're spying on your girlfriend.
Oh, right, okay.
You're going incognito, right? You want to disappear.
Right.
So that's where I would wear this.
Hiding in the cupboard at your girlfriend's house to see what she gets up to. All right. Well, probably.
I'm so sorry.
An unlikely scenario, but yeah, I like that. Yeah. All right. Okay. So I think we agree overall on that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do age groups.
Once again, I'd go for any age group, but I think it's probably going to be perhaps more leaning slightly 30 and upwards, probably for me, because I think it's got a little bit of a power, a little bit of a Viking, slight hint, obviously with the lavender and so, things like geranium combined with lavender, which I really like that kind of thing. It gives you that sort of fresh out of the barbers type of vibe, and I don't think youngsters necessarily want that. So I think that it doesn't have anything to pull in the young kiddies. So I would say probably 30 and up is the people who will like it most. But it's no reason anyone of any age couldn't wear it.
I agree. I'll go with that. 30 plus, yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's got that lavender, that geranium combination. It brings in that sort of barbershop fresh and herbal side as well, and spicy as well. So it's probably good 30 plus fragrance. 30 plus spy.
Yeah, I should think most spies are about that age, because you've got to have a bit of if you're talking sort of international espionage, I think they're normally older. So yeah.
Signature scent of a spy.
Yeah.
I think we've created a new category, right? Nobody's thought about it.
I don't know. Spies. I suppose spies probably do wear aftershave if they're trying
James
to fit
Bond.
in.
James Bond.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's got to sort of meet people, and they're not always hiding, are they? They might be hanging out with other people. So yeah, it would be a good choice for that. Yeah, wouldn't make you stand out as anyone too noticeable or out of the ordinary. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. At least we've got a positive out of this, right?
Yeah.
So I think what else should we cover? Weather. I think it's a given, right? It's a Cologne, so.
Yeah.
Spring, summer.
Mostly, yeah. You could wear it. I don't think there's any reason not to wear really fresh things in winter too, because sometimes I enjoy them. But yeah, you're right. Spring, summer. Yep.
Value for money.
Yeah, this is where it does badly. So I think it's a good fragrance, just ignoring the price or who made it. But value for money is not good. You can get more fun things for much less money. So yeah, the thumbs down there.
Thumbs down. Yeah, I echo. Marks out of 10, mate. Huge silence.
Seven.
All right. I think I don't like to disagree with you, Dan, but I think I'll disagree. I'm going to give it a 5. For me, it's a complete pass.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
All right. Well, that's we're not a million miles apart, but I'm a little bit more positive. But it's a definite pass for me in terms of buying a bottle. As somebody who does buy Creed fragrances, I won't be buying this one.
Yeah. I mean, let's segue into the next part of our conversation a little later. But you're right. You're a person who likes Creed. I'm a person who criticizes Creed quite a lot. I only own 2 bottles of Creed. One is Venezia, and the other one is Creed Royal Mayfair. And the only reason I bought those 2 bottles is because it gives me performance, and the third one I'll buy is Green Irish Tweed. I think I'll never own more than those 3 bottles. Might eventually buy a little tiny bottle of Aventus, I don't know. But I don't get any kick out of owning Creeds because of that exact one point. That is, they don't last on me, and they don't give me a full story. It's a nice opening, and then it fizzles out. As I said, this one reminds me of a watermark of Himalaya. That's why I gave it 5, because if I want to wear Himalaya, I'll go and wear Himalaya. So it's like Eau de Rochas over Himalaya dry down. So I didn't enjoy it, and I'm not a big fan of Creed for that reason. I completely steer clear of Creeds because of that. It just doesn't give me the value for money. If I have 260 quid itching in my back pocket, I'll probably spend it on something else, like a Guerlain or a Amorage or a Roja even. I wouldn't side with Creed. But yeah, I see why you're going to 7, because there's something there for Creed lovers. Definitely.
Yeah.
But please don't burn me on a stake.
No, I'm not.
I'm telling my subscribers.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Do you get the feeling they are leaning any particular way towards Creed or not, or what do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, both our channels have really good subscribers. And what I've seen is that they love us because we tend to give them honest opinion rather than saying, "Oh, it's a Creed. It'll get you laid. Buy it now," like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
It's if we have individual opinions and honest opinion. And I was just
Yeah.
joking because I know my subscribers. I think most of them are going to come back and say that they didn't get impressed by the streams. I
Yeah.
won't be surprised if they say that because I know my subscribers. They're like me. They like
Yeah.
if it's a lot of money, they like to be entertained, and I don't think this one entertains. Like you said, this is unremarkable. But
Yeah.
as I said, 25 minutes down. Let's do a little bit of a chat because I know that it's a great conversation with you always. So I want to bring you in and I want
Right.
your expert opinion on where do you think Creed is heading?
Okay. Good question. Don't know. Obviously, a couple of years ago, they were taken over by a company. I think it was an investment, some kind of big corporation. I don't know.
Yeah.
And of course, that meant that their traditional claim to be passed down from father to son for many generations was not really any longer the case. Although I think their stuff still does say from father to son since 1761. So don't know how they managed to do that. But anyway,
can I make a quick point on that?
Yes. Yeah.
They've been taken over by BlackRock, I believe. I did a video on that last year, but they have left the whole Creed team intact. So that's why they're saying the father son, because their own creative independence is still there.
Okay. That makes sense. So fair enough. Yeah, I wasn't sort of trying to question whether they have the right to keep saying that, but it sort of seems strange. But yeah, okay. So I think you get the same kind of thing with. I quite like craft beers, so quite often you'll get a small brewery that's really people get into it, and then it gets bought by a bigger conglomerate. It could even be the people who own Budweiser have bought up some of these small companies, and everyone says, "Oh no, now it's going to taste." The beer will be mass-produced rubbish now, but often they have said, "No, we're not touching their factory. We're leaving the same people doing it." But we're buying them, and obviously that means that we can give it better distribution and upscale it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the whole company and the way that they make the fragrances has changed when they are bought up by somebody. So we don't know what this really means, because of course then you're going to get people saying, "Oh, well, they've been taken over by a bigger company, and now the quality of the fragrances will go down and all the old ones will be reformulated." But that's not I don't know how it works, but that's not necessarily the case. So it may not really matter for the customer that that's happened, but it's interesting. What's also interesting is for this one, I saw quite a few advert, or at least one advert with a kind of modern sort of vibe, a bit of somebody in the mountains or something. I don't know what was going on, but it was it wasn't the kind of thing I used to associate with Creed. So perhaps if it has anything to do with this new ownership, I don't know. But what with that, and what with releasing now flankers to things, we had Aventus Cologne, now we've got Viking Cologne. So they're doing things a little bit more like designer fragrance houses, because niche fragrance houses didn't really used to release promotional videos, but now they are. So they're moving with the times a little bit, and that may be a good thing or a bad thing. As to their releases, who knows? I think certainly in the last few years we've just had Viking and Viking Cologne, neither of which made me too excited, although I know you like Viking, and I wonder if we'll get things as good as, for example, you mentioned Royal Mayfair, which I think is superb, and that was a 2015 release, and that could be the last thing I think they brought out that I find is a real, a 9 or 10 out of 10 great fragrance. And so let's see if there'll be anything that imaginative or good from them yet, but I worry that there may not be anything that good. Or even Royal Oud from 2011 I thought was really, really good. I don't know, will they just kind of double down on what works best for them, the Aventus kind of thing? Viking at least wasn't an obvious sort of smell to release, because it's kind of a bit spicy and barbershop-ish, bit old-fashioned, really. So it's not like they're desperately chasing after but being a posh version of Paco Rabanne fragrances or something. So I don't quite know. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, let me answer this question after I give you a little window into how I perceive Creed, right? So Creed is a royal brand, right? It's been in existence for more than 250 years. And in fact, before 1970, nobody even realized there's something called Creed. Only the most influential and the very creme de la creme of the society used to use Creed. And that's the legacy of Creed. What we see now, in terms of the points you made, for example, flankers and all that, it's a complete opposite of what a prestigious brand normally does. It's like Rolex releasing something for the 100 to 200 pound mark just because they want to be more popular. That's how I see the flanker thing when I compare it to the brand value of Creed. So there's a lot of dilution of the brand value when you get these flankers and imitation of designer fragrances. Amouage did that with Interlude Iris, and they seem to have stopped now. They're coming up with just collections, Renaissance collection, 4 fragrances and another 2. So this move by Creed of releasing flankers is basically, in my opinion, a complete dilution of what we see Creed as, which is a royal brand, a very high value, prestigious item. So that's one thing that I think of, and that I wanted to give some historical perspective as to why I think so.
Yeah.
In terms of acquisition by BlackRock, good thing, because they have a huge market. They have very big people. They have a lot of market exposure. Good thing. But having market exposure, having connections count for nothing if your product is pretty ordinary. And here, the product is the problem. I think it's got nothing to do with management. Even if they came up with a very nice flanker, Aventus Cologne was equally, I don't know. I wasn't impressed. What about you? Did you like Aventus
No,
Cologne?
I didn't. It was a definite pass for me. It was underwhelming in the extreme.
Yeah. So if you think about it, the product has to improve, I think. They have everything. They have big investment, huge markets, complete creative freedom. Nobody's interfering with their team. But what they seem to be struggling with is this. Their product is very light. Not in terms of performance, the quality. Yeah, if you compare it to, for me, the best Creed ever is Green Irish Tweed. Yeah. You put 2 and you're wearing a premium product, right? For me, as you said, Royal Oud, absolutely stunning. Yeah. Incomparable. Royal Oud. Venezia, which is my favorite. Royal Mayfair actually is a re-release in 2016. Before that, it existed because it was actually commissioned for Prince Edward or King Edward, I think, because I can't remember when it was commissioned, before he became the monarch or after he became the monarch. I can't quite remember. I think it was in the 30s. So you can imagine my disappointment is related to how the brand is perceived and what it's delivering. So it's like buying a Maserati and actually getting a Fiat under the bonnet. Both are Italian. They're not related, but somehow I came off that analogy. It's like buying something high premium stuff, but doesn't have the legs, both in terms of the scent and the performance. That's how I feel, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. Yeah, and of course, the one thing that's not diluted is the price still remains really high. So, to be honest with you, I think probably the business will still be successful. So, I don't suppose Creed mind about this. So, I think it will still be very business-wise successful, and people will buy it, and it's obviously reaching wider and wider audiences who are probably not massively interested in the backstory or the history of making bespoke fragrances for Cary Grant or Frank Sinatra or King Ed, the former monarch, the Mr. Windsor from the 30s. He was the one who abdicated, wasn't he? The one
yes.
Because he had an American wife.
Windsor. Yeah.
Yes, he wasn't allowed to have an American wife, so he was forced to abdicate. Anyhow, many people don't know or care much about that, but they just have a general idea that Creed is the sort of the luxury blingy brand. Yeah, a bit like Rolex or something, like the obvious fancy watch is that, and the obvious fancy fragrance probably for a lot of people might be a Creed or something if they want to go up a level from buying Chanel or whatever, or buy their husband a really nice perfume that's a good present. Creed. So I think for a lot of people it won't matter, and for a lot of fragrance people, we're going to be the ones who might be a little bit more disappointed by what happens. So I tend to agree with your overall diagnosis there. And I wonder if they'll ever release anything that we find really exciting, like Royal Mayfair or Royal Oud. Again, that's the worry that perhaps they're not interested in things that are that risky, because everything since they were taken over has been safe.
Well, the thing is, they don't have to be risky to be interesting. For example, let's talk about Frederic Malle, French Lover. I think if I hadn't seen the label on the bottle, I would have said it's a Creed fragrance. The whole signature is Creed, Dominique Ropion. So you don't have to be risky or completely out there to be interesting. It could make a very generic smell luxurious and high quality and amazing. And that's where I think I'm feeling let down, because this is a very simple scent, but it doesn't last and doesn't have the luxurious feel about it. And that's the same thing I've felt about many other Creed fragrances. And I think you're right. Some people don't care. They'll still buy Creeds because they're used to, and they probably have more money than sense. Only people who are going to moan about it are people like me and you, who actually know their stuff and want to invest money in stuff that actually is going to give them some returns rather than just nonsense because it's just got a name on it.
Yeah.
I think this is when fragrances are different than watches or cars.
Yeah. Well, a watch or a car, then everyone can see that you've got that car or that watch. But a fragrance, if you smell good, you smell good. So it's not quite the same thing. There's similarities, but a lot of things that are not the same, really. Those analogies work up to a point. I mean, it might be fun because I do have much more affection than you, generally, for the line from Creed. So I must own about a good 12 or so fragrances from them, and there are some real beauties. And for me, it was very exciting when I discovered the world of niche fragrances. It was Creed that I heard about first, for kind of obvious reasons, because it's maybe one of the ones that's most out there, and it seemed like a really luxury thing, and the idea of spending these amounts of money on a fragrance seemed a big deal back then, and now it doesn't to me, because because we do YouTube and we're obsessed with fragrances, we know you can spend loads on a fragrance. So I found it kind of exciting and intriguing. I did buy into this thing about the royal heritage, and they come with these little cards, don't they, that have a picture of Olivia Creed's head on it, and it all seems very historic and magnificent. Quite like the packaging, the bottle designs. It's not mega blingy. You don't get a fancy box, but I like it. And I think some of their beautiful citrus-centric fragrances really do capture my imagination. Things like Virgin Island water, that's lovely. And it is a little bit different because it's lime combined with coconut, giving it this slightly exotic or holiday in the Caribbean type of undertone, or a tropical cocktail. It's beautifully fresh, very, very likable. Yes, maybe it's the opening notes that's it's all about fresh, zesty things, and perhaps some people feel they don't last as long as they want or whatever. I agree with you. Green Irish Tweed is an all-time classic, and just sometimes bugs me that many people sometimes think you're wearing cool water, because there is a similarity, but it's the cool water. Then you might want to get into this as well. Of course, I do really like Spice and Wood. But of course, this is from their more exclusive line, which costs even more, significantly, another level up in price. And knowing a bit about how these things work with the making of perfumes, I doubt that there are more expensive ingredients in this. I don't know, but than Green Irish Tweed. I don't know, but I don't think that
Uh,
they've held back on the other fragrances, and no, we won't use such good ingredients on these, but we'll charge a bit more on these ones because we put something more expensive in the ingredients. I think it's just a perception that they put them in a different bottle and just said, oh wow, if you want to spend even more money, here's an even more fancy one. But I mean, they're all good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't see how these ones are qualitatively any better unless you think the
right.
bottle design is maybe bottle design might be a bit
Marvelous.
more flashy,
Yeah.
but it's so there's that. So they're quite canny at trying to get into that. They're clever in that they want to get into that world. There's a market for some luxury products where the normal rules of demand and supply don't work, and the more it costs for some people, the more attractive it becomes. I think
Yes, indeed.
Rocher Parfums have mastered that kind of area too. And there's other houses like Henry Jacques and obscure ones. If you go up on the 6th floor of Harrods, it's more. I mean, I'm not knocking what they do because if I could do it, I'd do it myself. It was almost a license to print money. But yeah, just on the positive side, I do find some of their fresh citrusy stuff, things like Royal Mayfair. Actually, there's also this other line. I love Aberdeen Lavender from this line. I don't know if you tried that one. I love a lavender fragrance. It's a beautiful lavender with some sweet notes in that one. So some really, really high quality things. And I do feel that there is this slight Creed DNA in the dry down. I don't know if it's the ambergris or something that gives it that little bit of magic. And I find that although they may not be mega potent for hours, a lot of the good ones that I really love, they do hang around. Oh, a Rolfer, lovely. They hang around on the skin and on the clothes, maybe not very strongly smelled by everyone else, but when I lean in, even the next day, I get that really nice thing where it's melded into my skin. And if someone was close to me, I think they really, really can be high quality and they work really well. Absolutely, you can spend a lot less money and probably have just as much fun with other brands, even niche brands like Acqua di Parma, cost less money, very good citrusy scents too. There's Hubigant fragrances that are quite relatively affordable. Other things like Parfums de Nicolai, you've mentioned Guerlain for it's not a niche house, but a really, really high quality sense that costs less. So
if you look, I mean, Gamma has the niche line, right?
Well, they do, yeah.
Yes, if you look at the niche fragrances, Gamma niche fragrances are probably a couple of notches above Creed and cost less. So 75 ml, I don't have it here. 75 ml is their standard packaging. Gamma 75 ml niche costs you 175. So
pretty good, yeah. It's not bad.
Very high quality. I mean, I'm a Gamma romantic, so I'm hopelessly in love with Gamma, but I still think I'm still being fair when I say things about Creed and Gamma. For me, it's all about how long am I going to enjoy it after I spend 250. Only a few. I mean, as I said, Green Irish Tweed is my absolute favorite. Himalaya, I like Himalaya. That's why I identified Himalaya. Bois de Portugal is another one.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, my favorite. Yeah,
that's your favorite.
Yeah,
yes.
That's stunning. That is really, really, really classy. Great fragrance. So
indeed. Yeah. Royal Oud, another good one. So yes, I will definitely own bottles of Creed. But whenever I buy Creed, I'm doubly suspicious of whether it's going to last on me, whether I'm going to get the feel of 250 or not. And that's where I think they need to do some work, because I think if they are releasing flankers after flanker, that means it tells me two things. One, things are changing. And second, they are quite desperate to get a lot of things out because their bottom lines are probably getting affected. Why would you do flankers? Because you want more people to try your stuff. You want new inclusion of new people, new customers into your portfolio, right? You want to attract different, huge amounts of customers. That's why you do flankers. Why do you think designers release flankers every year? They want to increase their bottom line or create top line, whatever. So there is definitely a revenue pressure there on Creed. Otherwise, you wouldn't be releasing these flankers one after the other. But the way they're doing it is not going to improve their situation, I think. They need to bring more muscle power, more creativity, more fun to the game. They're lacking fun, If you want to really play the game hard, bring in good stuff, interesting stuff. and then I think it'll change. But I think they're lacking in the product. The product is pretty weak, both in terms of concentration and ideas.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, Eau de Rochas, 20 quid fragrance does what this does.
True.
So,
but perhaps I don't agree with you entirely then, because I don't think that necessarily flankers mean that they're having any problems. I think they're just doing their safe releases, because the original fragrance was a big success, Aventus. So why not do Aventus Cologne? Because if you've had a big success with a film called Superman, why think up a new superhero? Just do Superman 2, or Rocky was a great film, and then there was Rocky 2, which was quite good, and then Rocky 3 and 4 and 5. But they were big, but they do great things at the box office. So it makes financial sense to do that. But us aficionados find it a little bit obvious and safe. So I think it makes good business sense, probably, if you've had a success with something, it's safer. Because maybe you get the people who already bought Aventus to buy Aventus Cologne, so it makes sense. I don't know. So I think probably I would doubt that they're going to have a problem in terms of business success, but they may be disappointing to us that think fragrances are more of an important thing in our lives. But their main customer is not people like you and me, is it? It's the average person who doesn't think about fragrances that often, I guess. So I agree with your criticisms in terms of the fragrances might not be as good or exciting as we'd like them to be, and they are indeed not necessarily worth paying more money for. But that doesn't mean businesses don't do. We can all think of loads of businesses that still have massive success where they're not necessarily the best watch in the world, but they happen to be the most loved brand or whatever. Or, it's not necessarily the world's best car, but it's I don't know much about cars, but it's the brand of car that the guy who wants to have a flashy car goes and buys when he makes a bit of money, even if it's not better than a different car. So I think they'll do fine, but I think that they perhaps might not be the brand that I even 10 or 15 years ago looked like it had a little bit more of a charming story and some really intriguing sense, and that I think that may dissipate a little bit.
The only reason I agree with you, Dan, but the only reason I brought in the commercial aspect is they are under a new management, and this new behavior coincides with new management. So there could be commercial pressures, bottom line, top line, I do not know. But it's just one of those things that it came across to me as if, are they in trouble in terms of numbers, not in profitability terms, but revenue targets?
They might be. I don't know. Good.
We do not know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Okay. Well, it seems that we at least disagree. More fun when we disagree in a way, but I mean, there's all. I've spent some money on. I mean, obviously, you can buy Creed fragrances without going into the department store and paying full retail. So it's not illegal for me to say that. There's a grey market which is perfectly allowed. So you will often find them cropping up for prices are a little bit less here and there. Some people are in places where they swap fragrances with people they know as well. So you don't necessarily always have to pay the top price that you see on their website to get some of these. But I have to admit, a lot of them, if I was going to spend £275 or whatever it is, 240, but I think some of them are more. I could buy a couple of Guerlain fragrances and keep the rest of the money for something else, a new bicycle or whatever I want, So value for money wise, they aren't the best.
No, not all of them, but most of them. But I tell you, we have discussed some great points here. I hope it's enjoyed by our subscribers. It's a long video. We're touching 50 minutes, so I think we're logically coming to the end of this video. Yes. But thanks for sharing your expertise, because you're the Creed expert in the room. I'm not a Creed expert. I'm a Creed critic.
I'm not I know more of an expert on Creed than you. I don't know much, but you know, I like them more than you, and I've bought more. So I guess that's the difference. Yeah. But I must say, since I have, they used to be my favorite house, maybe, but they're probably not my top house now. So I'm a little bit less excited by them now, because I've discovered so much other exciting stuff. But yeah, still, I would put myself in the I like Creed camp, but I don't think you are.
I am not. But as I said, you are the man who knows and loves Creed, and it was brilliant to get your views. And I think our subscribers are going to really enjoy these wonderful insights from you. So thank you, Dan, and thank you all.
Thank you. Goodbye, folks.
Goodbye, folks. Take care.